Welcome at the Inspired by Ruth. Today's topic is about what type of fruit did Adam and Eve eat at the Garden of Eden. Welcome. We've had many stories. Myself, I've heard they ate an apple, an orange, a guava. Even I've heard they had sex at the Garden of Eden. That's why they were chased away. But Genesis 1:28 tells us that God blessed them and told them to go and multiply. But we don't have a history of them having kids at the Garden of Eden. But looking at the calendar of God, the Bible tells us one day to God is 1,000 years. So we don't know what time of the year they were in at this time, because to God they were still within one day, which was 1,000 years. We don't know whether it was year 1, 2, 3, 4. We have no idea. The Bible does not tell us. We don't know when they had planned to have kids, but one thing we are sure of, or we know, when they were taken out of the Garden of Eden, they had children. So they were still in day one. Okay? So that theory, we can leave it to rest. So we cannot debate about it, because they were told to go and multiply. Now, we continue with our question. What fruit did they eat? We see Genesis 2:9. The Bible tells us about the tree that were in the Garden of Eden. God caused other trees to grow, but there were still two trees here: the tree of good and evil and the tree of life. And God told them they can eat of every tree in the Garden of Eden, but of the tree of good and evil they were not supposed to eat. Genesis 2:16, God gives a commandment and told them, do not eat of this tree of good and evil. Fine. They obeyed. They obeyed because we see God coming to visit them at the cool of the day. So they had a good relationship, but we don't know how long this relationship had stayed. We don't know, because one day to God is 1,000 years. We don't know whether they were in year 200, year 100. We have no idea. But looking at the Bible, they used to have a good relationship, because God used to come and visit them at the cool of the day. But this particular time, he comes as he normally comes. He doesn't find Adam and Eve at a particular place, or a normal place they used to meet. Then the devil had come and corrupted Eve and asked Eve. Let me read Genesis 3. Allow me. Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which God had made. And he said to the woman, the serpent is speaking to the woman, indeed, has God said, you should not eat from any tree of the garden? He's bringing doubt to Eve. The woman said to the serpent, from the fruit of the tree of the garden we may eat, but from the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, God has said, we shall not eat from it or touch it. So Eve is introducing to us about the fruit. But God planted trees, but he never mentioned about the fruit. But Eve has brought the issue of tree. And God has said, you should not eat from or touch it, or you will die. So the commandment was, if you eat of this tree, you will surely die. So Eve knows about it, Adam knows about it. But the only person who is not aware is the devil. So he's getting the message. And the other thing I want us to remember, God was talking about the tree, but Eve has said the fruit from the tree. Okay. So when we continue, I want us to read Matthew 7. Matthew 7. Allow me to read Matthew 7. 1 minute. It's very important. Let's read Matthew 12 first, and then we go to 7. Matthew 12:33. Either make the tree good and its fruits good, and make the tree bad and its fruit bad. For the tree is known by its fruit. That's Matthew 12:33. Then let's go back to Matthew 7. I want us to capture the issue of tree and fruit so we can continue. So Matthew 7 tells us, just 1 second. There we go, Matthew 7. Yeah, Matthew 7:17. So every good tree bears good fruit, but the bad tree bears bad fruit. Nor can a bad tree produce good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down. Let me stop there. So we've heard the tree produces fruits. And God planted a tree in the Garden of Eden. But Eve has talked about a fruit. Then we continue to ask ourselves, what fruit did they eat? You know, when God has given us a choice, and every choices that we make in our life, there is consequences. A case in example, when Saul was made king and he was told, go and finish all the Amalekites. When Saul went to finish them, he did not do what God had told him. So the consequences they had of his disobedience, he never became a king. The Israelites rejected him. His household was wiped out. Those are the consequences of disobedience. The children of Israel, because they disobeyed God, they were in the wilderness for 40 years. 2, none of their generation entered the promised land, apart from Caleb and Joshua. You see, every disobedience you have, there are consequences. Judah and Israel, when they disobeyed God, Israel was tormented or was punished by their neighbors. They were taken into captivity. There were consequences for them disobeying God. They were taken into captivity. Their sin or their disobedience resulted in demolition of the temple. Cain, when he disobeyed God and killed his brother, he was made restless for the rest of his life. So there are consequences. Here the consequences is, if you eat of the tree, you will surely die. So we can come back and we say, the results of something is the fruit. So we can say the fruit is the results of good or bad, according to what Matthew has told us. If a tree has good fruit, if a tree is good, it will give us good fruit. If a tree is bad, it will give us bad fruit. That's why In the Garden of Eden, there were two trees. If they ate the other tree, that of life, they could continue to have life. But they chose to eat the tree that was for good and evil. So the results of what they did is the fruit of what they got. So they got the results of their disobedience. That's why Eve said about the fruit. So the trees were in the garden, and these trees, they were producing fruits. So depending of which tree they ate, it was the fruit they could have eaten. So this tree that was there in the Garden of Eden, the tree they were told not to eat, it produces fruit. And the fruit it produces, it was to be banished from the Garden of Eden. So the fruit we can say they ate, it was the fruit of disobedience. If you disobey, the fruit that you got out of it, God was to punish them and to be kicked out of the Garden of Eden. So we can say a fruit is the results of. We have the fruit of the Spirit. Galatians has told us. We have the Spirit and we have the fruit. So if you have a good spirit, the Spirit of God, you will produce good fruit. And the Bible has listed a lot of fruits. Don't forget, when you look at this story, it's about the Spirit. How does the Spirit produce fruits? How does the Holy Spirit give? How do you equate the Holy Spirit with the fruits? The Holy Spirit is a person, and the fruit is something to be eaten. So a fruit of something is the product of a thing or a being or anything that comes out of it. So here, Adam and Eve, they never ate an apple. They never ate a pawpaw. They never ate a guava. What they ate was the fruit of their disobedience. It is the fruit of their disobedience. So to us, how does it apply to us today? God has given us his rules that they are in the Bible. For example, if a married woman goes out and sleeps around with other men, the fruit of adultery the person can give birth out of wedlock. The person can be divorced. The person can get disease. So that's the fruit of going out of wedlock. So there are fruits of it. When a child or a student study hard at school, university, college, the fruit of passing exam is successful or successfulness. So we can say that student has been studying hard, and the fruit that he or she got was success. So the fruit here is the results of something. It can either be good or bad. In our case scenario here, in the Garden of Eden, the fruit that was eaten is the fruit of disobedience. So we should obey our God. If we disobey the God of the Bible, we'll reap the fruits. It can be either be good or bad. So my emphasis today is obedience. Obedience. Even if you obey your manager at work, the fruits of it, you'll be promoted. Your manager will talk good of you. You will be respected. If an individual is planning to lose weight, and he does everything that's supposed to be done, eating healthy, doing extra exercise, looking at himself or herself, the fruits of it will be losing weight. So the results of a particular thing is the fruit. Somebody enjoys the fruit. We can say that student is enjoying the fruit of his or success. Look at it. How do you equate success with a fruit? So the fruit is the results of a particular thing. I hope you've got it. Thank you very much for listening to me. Let's continue to subscribe as we continue with this channel of Inspired by Ruth. God bless you.